and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman. You guys, happy 4th of July. I am so excited to celebrate the 4th of July. I don't know, it's something about this year and us celebrating 250 years of this young, amazing nation that has put me in a mood. I mean, I'm just in a really celebratory mood. Now, I realize that there are so many videos circulating the internet talking about, why I'm not celebrating the 4th and, black people shouldn't be supporting the 4th of July. And, when I see videos like that, it tells me a couple of things. One, you just black and ignorant, because if you really understood what it meant to be an American and how we fought for the freedom for you to just say the ignorant drivel that you say, you would probably be a little bit more grateful. But more importantly than that, I am honored to celebrate the 4th of July because it's just one of those holidays when you think back to what it means to be an independent nation like the United States of America. It would be remiss if you just did not mention all of the grit and the grime and the fight that made America what America is. I mean, when I think about the Battle of Trenton in 1776, when George Washington, he's crossing the Delaware River and it's a cold Christmas night. And he surprises the Hessian soldiers who are fighting for the British. And that is just one of those battles where Americans captured almost the entire British force. I mean, y'all, this was at such a low point in the war where American morale was just low and it looked like everything was about to collapse. But God was so gracious to us and we prevailed and we were victorious in that battle. And there's so many other battles like that, like the Battle of Yorktown, which, y'all, the Battle of Yorktown, and I'm not trying to turn this video into a history lesson. We're going to get into the content. But the reason why that battle was the knockout punch of all battles is because we had the British trapped. And they were left with no other choice than to basically surrender. And you have all of these battles makes me proud to be an American when I think about the bloodshed of the men, black men and white men. Don't ever let them take that from you. It just wasn't a white man's war. There were black men who fought in the American Revolution. And they stood side by side with white men and they stood toe to toe with King George and they told him, you're going to have to come and take it. And when I think about the valiant way that these men stood up to a tyrant, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Thinking about King George crossing that Delaware River, knowing that we were outnumbered, knowing that we had this little unorganized ragtag army, and yet we persevered and the Lord allowed us to declare victory, so much so that King George was like, oh, hell, look, just let them have it. Okay, leave them alone. They have earned it. They fought. They've declared that they are free. And I'm just at the point where I have to agree. They just let them go. They are free. So, yes, I, as a Black American woman, I love this country. I can appreciate the good, the bad, and the ugly because it's what makes us who we are. I don't have to deny the horrors of slavery, but as you know or may not know, I do have a film coming out called Slavery is a Choice. And it's because the reason why this film is so important, because it is finally time to take off the training wheels. And I'm going to tell the truth about how many chose slavery then and how sadly so many people are choosing slavery today. And so I want to talk a little bit, not just about the 4th of July, but I want to contrast that. You got the pro-wokety woke blackety black crowd. They got their holiday. They call it Juneteenth, right? Well, what I want to do is I want to contrast the 4th of July, which is absolutely a holiday that I celebrate with glee. And I want to contrast that against Juneteenth. Okay, listen, I'll be darned if I celebrate a day where it's not like this is a day that represents when we fought back against our oppressor. No, this Juneteenth is the day that the white man basically told you that you were free. And I could see if Juneteenth was a day that there were a bunch of slaves that were like, look, we are sick and tired of this. And they kind of just got together, who grabbed them some muskets and some swords and said, look, we are about to go and teach these so-called masters that we are free, right? That didn't happen. I could see if, like I said, we gathered up some muskets and some swords and went from plantation to plantation and look, just killed everybody who enslaved people that looked like them. That is something that I could celebrate. But is that what Juneteenth is? I mean, ask yourself, what does Juneteenth really mean and what does it represent? It is not like it's the 4th of July that represents the day where we Americans, colonists, asserted their freedom against King George the tyrant and told them that they were free. No. Instead of Black Americans who were foundational in establishing, when I say establishing this country and fighting, whether it was in the American Revolution or the French Indian War or in the Civil War, you give up the valiant acknowledgments from those battles, and instead you want to celebrate Juneteenth, which is a day where the white man told you that you were free. You want me to celebrate a day that Joe Biden had to declare and make it national and say, this is the day that we, your benevolent white zaddy, gave you your freedom. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me if you think I'm about to celebrate that. No, let me explain something to you. I will never understand why we would want to celebrate a day that a white man decided to give us, right? You want to celebrate the day that he told you you were free. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not a flex. It's not a flex, because what kind of cowardice and weakness waits for someone to tell them they are free, as opposed to say, I can show you better than I can tell you. The Black men who fought in the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, or the Buffalo Soldiers, or so many men in the American Revolution who were like, look, I will fight for my freedom. You give me nothing, I will fight for it. Those are the men that garnered the respect and who were able to contribute to this country in a meaningful way, not by cowardice, not by weakness, but by fighting and asserting that which God had already given them. When you celebrate, in my opinion, a day like Juneteenth, where you got the news where the white man told you you were free, all that does is solidify to me what the white liberal wants you to believe. And you know what that is? The white liberal, the individual who believes that they are supreme over you, they believe that they gave you your freedom. Oh, no, they don't want you to believe that your rights come from God and that God made you free. They don't want you to acknowledge God is supreme who did that. No, they want you to celebrate and dance a little jig and acknowledge that they made you free. Well, I'm sorry. I reject that. I'm not celebrating Juneteenth. I prefer the 4th of July. That's something I can celebrate because it's something that my people actively participated in, and they asserted their freedom and their dominance and declared, God made me free. You didn't give it to me and you can't take it from me. I don't want no parts of Juneteenth. So, as we celebrate, people in my tribe, as we celebrate the 4th of July, which is the day that Americans told King George he could go kick rocks with some sandals on. The inverse of that is you got blacks. Not all of us, because some of us understand the assignment and we know what's going on. But you got some blacks, right, that are refusing to celebrate the 4th of July. And at first, you might feel some sort of kind of way about that. But then I'm like, you know what? That's okay. You don't have it in you to celebrate the 4th of July. It is perfectly fine because, first of all, the 4th of July, I don't know if you were waiting for someone to invite you to celebrate. No, it is not something that you are invited to. It is something that you lay claim to. You join in. You're not invited in. And if you're too ignorant to understand that, then please do us a favor and exclude yourself from the festivities. Matter of fact, exclude yourself from the whole conversation. Go sit on over there in the corner and whine and cry and beg and do whatever it is that they do on Juneteenth. Because this holiday, the 4th of July, it's not for the weak. You can't be a perpetual victim, full of perpetual grievance, and participate in the 4th of July. It is not that kind of energy. It is not that kind of holiday. You understand? See, to take part in this, you have to assert your right. You have to lay claim to it because you understand all that it means and all that it costs in order to get it. But in contrast to the 4th, let me explain to you guys, in theory, why I really refuse to celebrate Juneteenth. Now, if my commentary at this point hasn't already pissed you off, it is about to. It is about to piss you off and it will trigger you. So if you already believe that what I said is seemed too much, you may want to click out because it's not just because celebrating Juneteenth denies what we would call the self-evident truth that all men are created equal. My issue with Juneteenth is the fact that it denies where our rights come from. Like, I can't hold a biblical worldview asserting that my rights don't come from government and that they come from God. Government doesn't give me my rights, nor did I need Joe Biden to make it a thing. And not just that, on top of that, let me show you. These are some of the things, y'all, when I show you this, I promise you, y'all, I got to shout out to the big homie, Vince Everett Ellison. I got these clips from him. When I show y'all the things that these people are doing on Juneteenth, if you want to celebrate and do this, have at it. I'm not doing this foolishness. You ain't about to get me out here to make an absolute stir-fried foolishness fool. You are not about to get me out here to make a fool out of myself like this. Take a look at this, y'all.
Today. It's really important that we know the past so that we can continue to improve for the future. Nothing's wrong with knowing what happened. We have come a long way. We truly have.
What this is doing for people that don't look like me is blowing up that history and showing your ancestors fought back. Your ancestors did not go quietly into that night. I can't change what they did. I'm not responsible for what they did, but for me to defend their actions today would be to recommit the sin for which they are guilty. So what I can do, not as a white savior, not as something like that, is just be an honest historian and talk about what happened, own it, and just say the very simple words, I'm sorry.
never seen so many people so desperate to be a part of a time in history that the people who actually lived it were so desperate to get out of. Like, if black people who were actually freed back in June of 1865 were like, hey, I wonder what all of our descendants are going to be doing with their awesome freedom like 150 years from now. And you were like, oh, they'll be out in ripped up t-shirts pretending to pick cotton. What? And see, this is why nobody gives a crap about Juneteenth, because it's not a day of unity and freedom and celebration. It's a day of victimhood and perpetual grievances by people who are as free as anybody else, but they're out here cosplaying slave markets and cotton fields so they can claim to be oppressed by things that never happened to them and blame other people for things they never did. Oh, and by the way, almost 40 people were shot in Chicago over the holiday weekend, the vast majority, if not all of whom were black, 13 of whom were shot during a Juneteenth celebration, and 7 of whom are dead. But sure, go ahead and stomp around in your spirit Halloween shackles pretending to care about the lives of black people.
Listen, let me explain something to you. Y'all, I know y'all saw this foolishness. I know y'all seen it. Y'all, this is diabolical. No wonder we are so messed up. Y'all, we are out here reenacting. No. This is not a reenactment. Y'all, these people were practicing. This is a rehearsal. Why would you celebrate this? Where on God's green earth do we ever see any other people group celebrating the time in history when they were oppressed? Y'all, this is not a flex. This is a rehearsal. Why would you do this? Do we ever see Jews reenacting their time in Egypt when Pharaoh made them make bricks without straw? Like, do we ever just see them just stomping through the mud, backs bent over, just skinny, ripped? Do we ever see that? No. Do we ever see Jews reenacting what it was like to be in a gas chamber? No. They don't do that. Now instead, they will say never again. You will hear them say that. They will talk about how the Lord delivered them out of Egypt. They talked about how the Lord brought them out, but no, not us. No, we say, see, baby, this is how you be weak. This is how you learn how to beg. This is how you learn how to be a slave. Like, what are we doing here? What is happening? Like, instead of teaching our children how to get a job or how to start a business, we take them to things like this to show them and teach them how to beg. Now, you don't come out and just say, baby, we teach you how to beg. But I'm trying to understand, what is the takeaway when you take your children to see this foolishness? Is this going to teach them how to be brave and stand up for themselves? Or is it going to reaffirm you's a slave? And that's all you gonna ever be is a slave. Your mammy is a slave. Your pappy was a slave. Them white folks just subjugated you. And I'm still laughing at the part where Buddy was like, they fought back. I was just like, wait a minute.
Flag on the plate.
Hear me clearly. We have very few examples of slave rebellions. I'm not saying they didn't happen, but there were no widespread slave rebellions. We have the testimony of Abraham Lincoln, who was like, look, we can't muster up a slave rebellion on these plantations if we try. These folks love their master. Every time someone tries to start up a rebellion, one of the other Negroes go and snitch and go tell master that somebody trying to run away. Listen, y'all, I can't. Y'all want me celebrating Juneteenth? Why? So I can celebrate what it meant to be subjugated and to have my behind beat? Huh? Learn this is how you beg? That's what y'all want me to celebrate. You want to show your children this foolishness, but like, see, y'all, this is how we does it, right? Other ethnicities are out here taking their children to SAT enrichment camps, and we're taking our children to Juneteenth Slave reenactments. Do not tell me that Juneteenth is about liberation. I told y'all in a previous video, the blacks, listen, when it comes to slavery, your freedom came without your knowledge, your participation, or your permission. And so therefore, since we don't have a story, say what you want about the Haitians, where they rose up together and said, we are taking our freedom from the French. We don't have that as our story. We had an Emancipation Proclamation. And then you had Juneteenth, where it's like half the blacks didn't even know that the white man was like, you free now. I'm not celebrating that. I am celebrating the ones, your Frederick Douglasses, who asserted and just took their freedom because they said it's mine because God gave it to me. Like, I can celebrate people who, through the shedding of blood, there's got to be bloodshed. I can celebrate the men who fought in the Civil War for our freedom with the Union Army, not the ones on the Confederate side, the blacks, the slaves who helped build the ramparts and the ditches and protected master stuff. No, y'all are the ones out here celebrating Juneteenth and trying to remind yourself of the victimhood and the oppression that why you find virtue in that, I will not understand. But you're not going to get me to celebrate that holiday. I'm not celebrating the day where the white man told me I was free. I'm going to celebrate the day where I said, I can show you better than I can tell you that my rights come from God. God made me free. I was born free, and I will demonstrate said freedom by making sure I kill you if you try to take it from me. That is what I will celebrate. So on today's July 4th, while you got all these videos out here talking about why black people shouldn't be celebrating July 4th, fine. Please don't celebrate it. You don't have it in you to celebrate it. All you have in you is to reenact your victimhood and how you were a slave and how you were oppressed, and you're still a slave. So Juneteenth is for you. You wait for the white man to tell you you are free and you celebrate that. But I'm not participating in that. This is why I say slavery is a choice. It was a choice then, and too many of y'all are choosing it today. So you don't need to participate in the July 4th festivities because you ain't got it in you to celebrate. You ain't made of the American fabric that so many of my ancestors were cut from. You cut from a different cloth. Maybe you're cut from the cloth of the tribe that was conquered and sold into slavery. Maybe you cut from that cloth. I don't know. But I've never seen such foolishness like this in my life. I'm with the white girl. I'm with her. This is why nobody cares about Juneteenth, because y'all are using this holiday to celebrate your oppression, when no other people group goes out of their way to remind themselves, you know, that time when we were slaves. Can you imagine if the Jews every year had a holiday where they put together a big mud pit and they just get some random Jewish kids to be like, now stomp in the mud, make the bricks without the straw. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are some, ooh. Listen, I'm curious to know. What do y'all think? I know. Look, I know the vast majority of blacks do not like my content, and I am okay with that. But at some point, I have to show you the ridiculousness of how you look, and you want to call me the sellout. You're calling me the sellout because I choose to celebrate July 4th, where I know for a fact that there was the shedding of Black men who gave their lives for me to enjoy the freedoms that I get to enjoy today. I want to acknowledge bravery and a valiant display of courage. I'm not celebrating all the times that you got your back scarred up and whipped and beat, and then the day that the white man was like, okay, you can go, you free. No. That's not a flex. And there's no virtue in that. The only thing Juneteenth can tell me is never again will I wait for someone to tell me I'm free, but rather I will look to Christ and I will look to the God of the Bible who I know made me free. And I will assert my freedom everywhere I go, but I'm not waiting for no white man to tell me I'm free. You got to be kidding me. I'm curious to know, What do you guys think? Leave me your comments down in the box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Happy July 4th. Happy birthday, America. Grace and peace.
Before the American Revolution, our founding fathers considered themselves slaves of the empire. And then Thomas Jefferson read John Locke. And he said that our freedom was not given us by the king. It was an unalienable right given us by God. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. The founders understood that, and this is why, at the end of the Declaration of Independence, they put, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They said they would die before they'd be slaves. I won't just die before I be a slave, I'll kill before I be one. So all y'all out there to say you have no choice, what the founders showed you. It was Patrick Henry that said, give me liberty, or give me death. And on that fateful night when George Washington had to cross the Delaware River in the ice and the snow, or the American Revolution would be lost, they said, General, what are the passwords? He said, victory or death. Either we're successful tonight or we all die. That's the idea of a free man. And I am a free man. So all you out there that believes that someone has to give you your freedom, you're admitting that you're a slave. If you come try to take my freedom away, God has given me the right to defend myself. And I got two things that'll get you off of me. That is Jesus and my 38. Slavery is a choice.